Who is Lord Starkiller? What type of suffering did he face to fall prone to the dark side? Well, that's a long story, with also a mass amount of torment. Flash forward to the present, however, Hot Toys have decided to announce a 6-scale Lord Starkiller figure, and we're gonna find out why you should pre-order this. Okay, so let's talk about the beginning first. Starkiller is the code name for Galen Marrek, which is the player that you actually play in the video game Star Wars The Force Unleashed and The Force Unleashed 2. He was founded by Darth Vader, who had been searching for potential Force users and Jedi to either kill or manipulate them to the dark side. After launching a full-scaled attack on Kashyyyk, he had found the Force user known as Galen Marrek. As a child, he found the perfect opportunity to nurture him into one of the most powerful Sith Lords the galaxy would ever see. Now, this is just the beginning of Galen Marrek's long journey into becoming the alternate ending of Lord Starkiller. Now, I won't be going into his entire lore since I still have to explain the Hot Toys figure, but Galen is most notably known for his Force Lightning use abilities, similar to Emperor Palpatine. Since he was going to be a non-canon character, the game developers did not hold back on the power of Starkiller. He would take down beasts without blinking an eye. He would bring down Star Destroyers like it was nothing. Now you may be asking, how did Starkiller have this much power? And it's honestly through his life, his loves, and above all, fear. Similar to Anakin Skywalker, throughout the game, Starkiller develops a relationship with Juno Eclipse, a supporting character in the game, and a female officer and pilot, a part of the Alliance. Now, Darth Vader knew how much she meant to him, and that's exactly how he was able to control him. And it makes perfect sense. Think about it. Anakin Skywalker became Vader because of how much loss and anger he faced throughout his life, and he's using the same type of manipulation Palpatine did onto his former apprentice. Kind of a little cheap shot if you think about it, but it got the job done. Now let's flash forward to the end of the game. To give a quick summary, Galen, with the rest of the Alliance, plot an attack on the Death Star where Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine are located. Now, if you're not familiar with The Force Unleashed, this game allowed you to choose different endings for the character of Galen Marrek, the light or the dark side. And I thought this was so interesting and honestly ahead of its time. I wish more games would do this because it allows you to see different perspectives and understand the character even more. Now, the one we are obviously focusing on is the dark side ending, where Galen decides to try and strike down Emperor Palpatine, as you can see right here. And safe to say, it does not work out for him. Palpatine basically overpowers him and tells him that himself and his friends are now doomed. Galen is ultimately defeated and overpowered by the Emperor, and this is the non-canon ending because you are typically supposed to go always toward the light, but when you choose the dark side in this game, Galen is going to face the consequence. No! So as you saw, Palpatine threw the Rogue Shadow, Galen's ship in which Juno Eclipse was flying, directly into his face, severing his ties to the light side and to his former love. Palpatine shortly after salvaged the body, turning Galen Marrek into the monster known as Lord Starkiller, Palpatine's new Sith apprentice. Similar to Darth Vader, Starkiller basically had to turn into a cyborg. Due to all of his fatal injuries, there was just no other way for him to survive. The only visible thing we can see in this outfit is the open arms, but apart from that, he was basically controlled by cybernetics, and you can only imagine how painful this was. Now, you're going to want to stay with me because this actually isn't the Hot Toys official suit they used. I'll explain that a little later, but this is officially known as the Sith Stalker armor. which also looks pretty badass. Honestly, it would be cool to see Hot Toys do this one as well, but I'd probably prefer the final suit that he wears. This was specifically made by Palpatine to have Sith Lords almost be assassins for their masters and strike fear into any opposing threat to the dark side. And you can actually wear this outfit in the game, and this is what the description follows. Sinister armor painfully grafted to the flesh and bone of its wearer. This suit is designed to turn dark side disciples into hideously deformed assassins feared by Jedi and Sith alike. The fact that this was basically pressed onto skin and bone is pretty grueling. Now, the mask itself actually has hints of Mandalorian armor, which is actually very interesting. I feel like everyone wants to see a Mandalorian Jedi, or maybe even Sith at one point. But let's not talk too much about the Sith Stalker armor, but get into the bread and butter, which is the Dark Lord's armor. Why, yes, the Hot Toys labeled the figure as Lord Starkiller. The official name for this armor is actually the Dark Lord's armor, which you can find as a suit to wear in the playable game. I'm curious as to why Hot Toys went with the Lord Starkiller name. Not that it's wrong per se, since he is in fact Lord Starkiller, but the actual name of the outfit would be labeled differently. Now, if you ever watch Dragon Ball Z, this is basically Starkiller at his final form, at his peak. What is so cool about it is that it is actually inspired by Darth Vader, and we all know how badass that outfit is. So after the Sith Stalker, this was basically made for greater speed and agility in combat. And while we're on the topic of Vader, another similar aspect to both of them is how Starkiller sounds when he breathes. Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds pretty terrifying. You can almost hear how painful it was for him to take a breath. This is because he basically lost his lungs after that ship crash. While Vader had lost his limbs, Starkiller's lungs were practically non-existent, and you can sense that. And it almost sounds like he's being reminiscent of Predator, if you're familiar with the films. Now let's talk about where this suit and the Hot Toys figure originated from, which is the Wrath of the Empire DLC from the Force Unleashed 1. After the game was finished, the game developers decided to make a DLC based off the non-canon storyline of Lord Starkiller. And safe to say, Star Wars fans should be pretty grateful that we got to see this come to fruition. Now, there were multiple DLCs of Starkiller, but this specific one, which is a battle on Hoth, is where he wears the Dark Lord's armor. If it weren't for this coming out, we may have never even seen a Hot Toys figure of Starkiller, and this may be our final one we'll ever get. But to give a quick summary, these DLCs were basically to showcase even more of Starkiller's non-canonness and the power that he had. You would basically destroy legacy characters such as Darth Maul, Boba Fett, and even Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Force Ghost Obi-Wan Kenobi. And we can't forget what the DLC is based off, which is fighting Luke Skywalker on a Hoth base. Let's hear how Starkiller sounds when he has the armor on.
I have waited many years to destroy the real Obi-Wan Kenobi. No, my master. I will not fail you, master.
Now, not to segue a bit, but this is really cool because Starkiller is actually voiced by Sam Witwer, who is the voice for the Clone Wars animated Darth Maul. He is a major Star Wars fan, and it is so cool to see that he has now a Hot Toys 6-scale figure of himself. He has been in so many Star Wars projects, and he clearly has a lot of love for this franchise, and a lot of love for the fans. And what's even cooler is that we got Starkiller himself to react to the Hot Toys announcement of the Lord Starkiller figure. Check it out.
Wait, what? That's me! They're doing a Hot Toys Starkiller? Are you kidding me? Come on, man! Alright, come on, let's remake Force Unleashed. Let's just do it. You guys want to do it? I'm gonna put together a GoFundMe, which I'm sure Lucasfilm would really appreciate. They'd be like, thanks, dude, what are you doing?
I mean, come on. How cool is that? Seeing the actual actors respond greatly to their figures is freaking awesome.
Kenobi.
He is clearly for the fans, and we are all here for it. But to get back on topic, Luke and Starkiller basically have a duel at this Hoth base, and it is pretty badass. It's pretty funny to think about how George Lucas approved Luke getting absolutely manhandled by Starkiller, but I'm all for it. I love it. But in short, Luke cannot catch a break with that hand, and Starkiller takes it clean off and is ready to take him down. When the Millennium Falcon with Luke's friends are in it, Starkiller manipulates him to give in to the dark side in order to save his friends. Luke listens and submits to Starkiller, becoming his future apprentice, which is a dark twist.
Very good. Fine. Apprentice.
Now, I think we got through all of the story of Lord Starkiller. Now let's get down to the figure. Now, for people watching who aren't familiar, Hot Toys are known to make the most realistic representations of 6-scale characters, which are usually ranging from $300 to $500 per figure. While that might steer a lot of people away, hear me out for a second. They make some of the most incredible and lifelike representations of figures. Some don't even deem this as figures, but more so works of art. The detail is just impeccable and unmatched. Seeing a close-up of the mask here, you can see the amount of detail and weathering that they put on this figure, and also the orange lining across the top of the mask, which is a very cool and intrinsic detail. You can also catch those sharp and grueling claws on the figure, which looks absolutely badass and just screams aura. I really like how the promotional images, which I'm going to show now, have the intrinsic details of the back and overall costume design. Now, what is steering so many people away from the figure is the fact that this is a non-canon character, which is totally valid and fair. However, you can't deny that this character breeds presence, and I think it'll do the same as a figure. You also just saw a glimpse of Darth Revan to his left, which is another character announced, a part of their Star Wars Legends line. So pairing this up with him would work perfectly, and it would also work perfectly with a Hot Toys Vader, given all the information I provided in this video. What is also a neat detail that I didn't mention is that the figure actually has lightsaber hilts, from his own to Darth Vader to even Darth Maul, which is very interesting. It's sort of reminiscent of General Grievous, holding these hilts as sort of like trinkets while he's in battle, to strike fear into his opponents. There's also another major concern that this figure is basically filled with pleather, which is a material that can deteriorate over time if it's not in the correct environment. Now, me personally, I'm not gonna not get a figure just because I'm worried about something that could damage in the future. At the end of the day, I'm willing to ignore the flaws and pick this figure up because the character and the suit means a lot to me. That said, I do agree with people that I wish Hot Toys would have gone with a Jedi Galen Marrek. As cool as it is seeing the dark side representation, I feel like Hot Toys really missed the boat on giving us a Sam Witwer head sculpt and a badass display of both Galen Marrek and Lord Starkiller. Now here is everything you are getting with the figure. With the sticker price of $270 retail, it is a bit of a stretch, but to be honest, after all the information I've shared, hopefully more people feel inclined to purchase this figure. As amazing as Revan is, I feel like Starkiller is getting the shorter end of the stick, but he is an absolutely amazing character and honestly has one of the best non-canon storylines in the Star Wars universe. I know this video was a little different than my usual content, and let me know in the comments below if you enjoyed what you saw and would like to see more series such as this. And I would also love to know, did you gain more of an appreciation for Starkiller? What are your thoughts on the figure and storyline of Starkiller? And are you a Star Wars fan out there who aren't familiar with Hot Toys and now have a sudden interest? Let me know. And make sure to hit the like button and subscribe as we are on that road to 4,000 subscribers. Thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.